Okay, so in this tutorial, I'll be expanding a bit on the last effect we made, which was this, just this row going up and down. And we'll make something much cooler out of it. We'll basically be making a wave like this. So first off, I just made this for a demonstration, just to kind of break down the concept so you guys can understand how it works. So what we had before was basically a row arpeggiating like this, right, up and down, but with a chord that basically lights up this whole bottom row. So each one of these has their own separate row going up and down. None of the other buttons do anything. And the last effect is basically like if I press them all down at the same time. And this is what happens, you see. It's basically the same thing. So how can we get a wave from this? So imagine this. It's basically like one person standing up and standing down, right? And if you think of those big stadium events where you've got like where people just stand up and stand down again doing that and create a whole wave, it's basically one person standing up. Then while that person is about to stand down, another person stands up. So it's basically one person stands up, then another, then another, then another, then another, blah, 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 blah. And they keep on doing that. And when they do it fast enough with the right timing, basically becomes a wave, no? Like this. So that's basically how it works as a concept. And so we've got this right now. I'll just delete everything inside of it and we'll make it from scratch. So we're on this note now because it's the sixth effect. So obviously we want to pitch it down. So we don't want this button to light up first. We want this button to light up. So it's going to be -5 here. And then we've got it lighting up. So from here we've shifted it down to here. Come on. Okay. And now we're basically going to create a row. So exactly like the first tutorial, you should know this off by heart by now. So we're basically going to light up the first row. So I'll actually do Control-D to duplicate it. And then 32. And now we've got the row. So first 4. Oops, I'm pressing the wrong button. So we're pressing this button. This is the first effect. So this is the wave effect. So we've got 4 and then we've got 32. And so these are basically like the people that are standing up and sitting down again. So what we want to do is obviously not have them all standing up at the same time. We want them to basically arpeggiate. So kind of like this effect here, where we kind of got that to move like this. We basically want this to happen. So we put an arpeggiator in. Let's set the gate to 100 just to really have one person lighting up at a time. And then let's put free rate and yeah, I guess that's okay, but it's still repeating. So if you think they only go by once, so let's put the repeats to 1. And now we've got this. Let's make it maybe a bit slower, 30. And now we've got this. So basically all of these people need to stand up and stand down and sit down again. So I'm just going to turn this off and I'll put in a chord and let's make this go up and down, right? So 4, 8 and 12. And then another chord, come on, and this will be 16. So this will light up the first 4, and then the second chord will light the whole thing up. And then all we need, here's a little trick. If you select an effect and start moving it, dragging it along, and hold Control, then you can just duplicate it. So I can turn this on and it's got the same settings and all I need to do is change it to up and down instead of up as style. So now this goes up and down. However, if you think about it, what's going into this arpeggiator, if we turn the stuff on we've got before, right, so this chord, and then we've got these chords here, and I'll still turn it off. We've got all of this, so basically the arpeggiator will start arpeggiating all of this stuff, which is not what we want, right? So this is going to be the effect that we get out of that. And if we arpeggiate the stuff before of that, it's going to be just complete chaos. So basically what we want to do is just split this into 8 instances that basically make, that only get triggered one by this, one by this, one by this, one by this, one by this. So we can do something simple. We can do Control-G or right-click and do Group. And this will put in a MIDI effect rack. So it's the same exact thing as just dragging a MIDI effect rack and selecting the stuff that you selected and dragging it in here. And so what we've got is, let's just call this number 1. And this basically, if we select the first note, which will be C1 obviously because it's starting from here, so this, and we turn this off, we can see all of the chords that are being turned on, right? And this is going up and going down. So we've got basically one key, which would actually be, I'll turn all of this stuff off. So you're letting only this button through, and we've assigned this button to this effect, which basically does this, and then arpeggiates it, and it goes up and down. So what we want to do now is just have the same thing, but copy that for all of the other 4. So let's just duplicate this, call it 2, and put it up 1, and then this here, call it 3 and 4, and then these again will be up 1. So now we've got each one going up 1 note, and we'll have this, okay? And we just haven't turned on the arpeggiator before that. So right now we just want them to be doing the correct thing, so just selecting the right notes. So let's do this again, duplicate it all, and let's see where we're supposed to put them. So select all of them, hold this, and just move them here. So if you hold it down, you can see they turn red, and then when you move it, you get this kind of black line, so you can align them properly. And now we've got all of them doing this. So all we'd have to do really is turn on the arpeggiator, but there's a problem, you'll see. Oh, it only reaches this far. And why is that? So the arpeggiator actually, if you think of what the gate of the arpeggiator does, it turns notes on and off, right? So by the time that this arpeggiator has reached here, it's already turning this note off. And they've got the same timing, so 30 and 30. So this will basically go, this one's on, then this one's on, and then this arpeggiator moves here. And when this one's supposed to turn on, this arpeggiator moves here, and this button has been turned off because this arpeggiator is doing this button's on, then this button's on, then this button's on. So we'll turn the buttons off too soon. So we could go further, and if we have a look and play around with the gate, if we set it really low, nothing will happen. If we set it a bit higher, then we'll get 2. If we set it higher, we'll get 3. But what we really want is to say, okay, when a note comes out of the arpeggiator, it should last for as long as this whole effect. So we know how to make a note last longer with note effect. So we put the note effect in, and we can see the more we send it up, the more we get the wave. And if we set it all the way up to 60 seconds, that's overkill. But if we set it to like 5 seconds, so 5,000 milliseconds, that will be enough time for it to go up and down. So great. Then what we can do is also, we can maybe change the rate here to make the wave a bit thicker. But actually, I forgot to do something quite important. So now you can actually see why it's so important to map things. So for example, say I wanted to change the rate for all of these arpeggiators to make it then thicker. Well, I can only do that with number 1, so 1 at a time. So you see this goes like this. I can make it thinner or thicker, so it's 2 at a time, or 100, so it's 1 note lighting up at a time. But there's a way around this, but actually I'm just going to delete all of this and show you what should have been the correct thing to do. So if you open the macro section up, and this is super important, you're going to map the most important things that, that you'll want to change on further along. So you can map the style to the first button, you can map the rate to the second button, and then you can map the gate, but it's not really that important. So we've got these 2 things mapped. So you can put the rate back up to 30, and then we can put the style, just change it to, just move it till we see it's selected to up and down. And now if we just duplicate this like that, and call this 2, 3, and 4 again, and then just duplicate these and move them to the right place. So let's see where that is. That's here. Oh, I'd actually got it right. Now we can change it for all of them instead of individually 1 by 1. So we can make the rate faster, or we can make it slower. So we can really play around with that. And we can also change very easily the style. So we can also just make it go up, or we can make it go down and up, or converge. So we can do, really just tweaking a few knobs, we can get so many different effects. So I want to set that to up and down again. So let's see, up and down, we can see it changing here. And just to understand, also we can make it go from left to right, because if you think the arpeggiator is going from left to right, we can make it go, instead of up, we can make it go down, and then that will go like this. So the effect we'll get will be this. So we can change the direction of it like that. So we can basically make it go in all four directions, so up and down from left to right, or left to right, up and down, or down and up from left to right, or vice versa. So that's the use of mapping things like this to the macros. And yeah, that's about it. So we've got this. We can just change, so this is basically going to be the horizontal speed. So we can maybe make this like 20, maybe this something like 25. So we get it a bit more elongated. So you can see the more I increase this, the flatter it gets. So maybe 30 or something like that. That's not enough. Let's do 25. I like the look at that. And still, it's not really thick enough, I think. The gate's set to 200, so that means that two notes will light up at the same time. But what we can do is, if you think about it, what we did for the arpeggiator here, which is basically make sure that every note plays all the way through for each of the rows. If we just minimize this, so we basically know that these are all of the rows, and put a note length after it, it means that all of the rows will last longer. So if I do this, they'll be really thin. If I do this, they'll get really thick, which is way too much. But we can just do something like 150. That's still too much. Let's do 125. Still too much. 100. Okay, 100 looks kind of good. So now basically we've got all of the rows going into this MIDI length. And obviously if we put it just in one of these rows, so if we put it just in number 1, for example, we'd only get the first row lasting longer. So you can see if I just exaggerate that, the first row will last for way longer. So we need to put it after all of them, so it applies to all of these 8 rows. And then set it back to 100, and we get our desired effect. Yeah, wave. So hopefully that was clear. If you didn't understand any of the steps, let me know. One also thing that you can do is you can see if you let go too soon, it will kind of not go all the way. So again, we put a note length after the arpeggiator to make sure, so all of these rows stay long enough for the row to go up and down. So this row will stay long enough for this to go up and down, this to go up and down on all of these. But what we don't have is a note saying, okay, so before all of this stuff, we don't have anything saying, okay, if I hold it, the input should basically allow this arpeggiator to finish. So we can just set another note length here, turn this back on, and put another note length, just copy it before the arpeggiator too. And I usually put it just after the pitch. So now we're saying all of the input, well, it's basically saying when I press this note, it's like saying this note is being pressed for 5 seconds, even if I release it. And that's going into the first arpeggiator. So boom. That basically means if I just release it straight away, it doesn't complete. But if I say before the first arpeggiator that I'm holding it for 5 seconds, it's like literally me holding the note for 5 seconds. So that's how we can do it. So yeah, if there are any questions, just leave a comment below, and any requests also. And I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.